boy, Jet Black the One Only, here with another exciting live stream. Now this is one of our comic book discussions. So the way that comic book discussion videos go is that this is not a review, this is not a summary, this isn't a dramatic reading of Avengers A.I. number 7. This is a spoiler-filled, opinion-based video of which I go over the pros, cons, and notes that I personally took down while reading Avengers A.I. number 7. The point of this video is to talk about my thoughts on the issue, and then in the comment section below for us to discuss the issue in detail. And if you happen to catch this video live, you'll be able to talk about the different points as I discuss them with me during the live stream. Also, if you haven't read this issue before, but you would like to read it, maybe before, after, or during the discussion video, feel free to do so. I'm going to put a link in the description box below after this video uploads to where you'll be able to read this comic yourself online for free. Now let's get started. As always, I go in order from pros to cons to notes. This doesn't have very many pros, has a lot of cons, and has a single note. So first pro. I like that Daredevil is trying to see the best in Doombot, and that it seems that Doombot definitely does feel sympathy for others. Doombot has been an unwilling hero throughout this whole series so far. He's been a villain created by Dr. Doom, a machine that's supposed to just be another one of Doom's minions, but seems to have the same level of intellect and intelligence of Dr. Doom to a certain degree. He has a lot of Dr. Doom's mannerisms and behavior, but he has a small black hole inside of his body that was planted there by Henry Pym, aka Ant-Man. So Henry Pym has put a little black hole inside of him, and it's like, if you don't do what I say, Doombot, I'm just going to make that black hole just kill you. And then Doombot's like, well, alright, I guess, I don't want to die, and I can't stop a tiny black hole, so I guess I'm just going to have to deal with it. But to see Doombot actually show sympathy for this old lady that's been turned into an Inhuman, and to try and help her through her times and struggle, and by saying, like, I know what it's like to be, like, horribly disfigured and to feel against the world and stuff like that. It really showed that Doombot could be a redeemable character, a character who may originally have been an unwilling hero and somewhat unlikable could end up becoming, like, one of the better heroes, depending on, like, where the story takes it. So I like it. It definitely did more for Doombot's character. Cons. That was the only pro I have for Avengers A.I. number 7. They interrupted the run halfway through, considering that currently Avengers A.I. only has 12 issues, and this is issue number 7. They interrupted the run halfway through to do a tie-in to a major event that disrupts the story that we've been following for 6 issues. The city of Attilan, the Inhuman city, has crashed into, like, I believe this is New York. And now a whole bunch of people are being turned into Inhumans, and this has nothing to do with robots or artificial intelligence, which is all Avengers A.I. is really about. They haven't tried to even, like, make it connect. You know what I mean? Like, they could have. They could have been like, now that all this Inhuman technology has crashed into the city from Attilan, maybe some of the rogue AI is trying to, like, take over and use that technology to its advantage. And it would have been like, oh, like, they made it, like, relevant to the plot. The closest thing you get to it being plot relevant is Henry Pym is like, oh, I gotta collect all the stuff. I gotta pick it up. He's just like, all the technology fell, can't let it go in the wrong hands. Gotta collect it. And that makes sense. You know, like, I get why he would want to do that, to stop it from falling in the wrong hands. But Ant-Man picking up a bunch of technology off the street is like a panel, right? You know, it's not like what the whole story should be about. It should be like, and Ant-Man did that, meanwhile, the main plot, you know, like, it shouldn't take up, like, a whole book of my time. An uninteresting Daredevil plot gets shoehorned into what has been a very interesting story until now. So apparently Daredevil was held captive by Dr. Doom's lackeys, and he had all his senses removed for a little bit, which was like torture, and Ant-Man saved him, and now Daredevil's back, and he's looking for this old lady who he's representing in a court case, but the city's fucked up and he can't find her. Why? Stop. I don't care that Ant-Man was in a Daredevil story. The story that he describes about him helping Daredevil is a more interesting story than Daredevil now in this city. Like the idea that like Daredevil had all his senses taken away and Ant-Man had to travel into Daredevil's mind where he gets to like understand what like it feels to be Daredevil and like have a really cool micro-sized adventure. Oh, that sounds dope. This isn't that though. This isn't interesting enough for it to be a book. I get that it establishes some continuity, which is good. But again, like, maybe if it was just like they mentioned it and then they moved on, instead of it being like, this whole book is that, then I'd be fine with it. It'd be whatever. So, an entire city falls on another city, turning many of its citizens seemingly at random into superpowered inhumans. But all Daredevil cares about is a single old lady. And I get it. She's like defenseless. This is like a really bad situation. He wants to make sure that she's okay. But what about everything else? Like they asked Daredevil, like, what are you up to, Daredevil? And Daredevil's like, I'm looking for one old lady. He doesn't go, I'm trying to help with disaster relief, or like I'm trying to find if anyone's still trapped, or there are all these rogue Inhumans. He's like, where's this old lady? And I'm like, stop. That's not interesting. This isn't good enough to be like an entire issue of the book that disrupts the story. If you're gonna disrupt the story with a big event to tie into something else, make it good. Make it have like a solid payoff where you're like, oh, it was like worth my time for you to like just derail the story to go do something else. So Daredevil for some reason couldn't immediately detect that Doombot wasn't actually Dr. Doom. So he goes through this whole thing where he's fighting Doombot, and he's like, oh, Doom! Because remember, he was held by Doom's lackeys earlier. So he's like, Doom, Dr. Doom, and he's like fighting him, and he thinks he's fighting the actual Dr. Doom, like he would have a chance against the actual Dr. Doom, just saying. And then he finally like gets him in a hold, and he goes, wait a minute. And then he suddenly can detect all these things that he didn't detect earlier. I mean, I've read runs of Daredevil before. I like Daredevil as a character. And Daredevil has shown time and time again to be able to be in a situation where someone's like, I have the complete advantage of stealth on Daredevil. And Daredevil's like, I detected this, and that about you, which gave me all the hints I needed to know that, like, you were here like an hour ago and at the time you were like a mile away. Like Daredevil just has like dumb super sense based abilities that are really good. So stuff like that isn't surprising. What is surprising is when you have really stupid scenes where Daredevil for whatever reason it takes him like a whole fight to go, oh wait, you're not the real Dr. Doom. What do you mean? You know, like that was really dumb. I didn't vibe with that at all. Then he didn't detect the presence of Ant-Man immediately. Like, Ant-Man, like, flies up on an ant, and he's trying to tell, like, Daredevil, like, no, like, don't fuck up Dr. Doom, I mean, Doombot, because, Doombot is, like, with me. And he, like, yells that, like, repeatedly, like, while on an ant. They could have also just been zooming in on him. Comic books are a little weird with that. So, at first it looked like a zoom in, and then I wasn't sure if he was like just still yelling it repeatedly. Because you don't need more than one zoom in once you zoom in the first time, right? You know, you can, I don't know. But I feel like Daredevil, with his attuned senses, should be used to stuff like Ant-Man and should have immediately been like, Ant-Man's in this alleyway. Because like that seems completely within his ability. He's good at sensing things at like an extreme level. So I feel like he should have immediately been like, hold on, is that Ant-Man? You know what I mean? Then there's this tentacle monster that shows up, right? And it like wrecks all of them. It just grabs them in its tentacles. It's too strong for any of them to escape. And Daredevil isn't the one to be like, hey, there's this tentacle monster. I can sense it like a mile away from here. Like there's a tentacle monster on its way to this alleyway. Because again, his super senses are really good, and he has some really crazy feats where all he does is just use his senses to an incredibly high degree. So like, how did you not sense a tentacle monster that's right there at the entrance? And Vision detects it first, who's not even there. he like Vision has separated himself into drones that are scattered throughout the city, and they're like watching to make sure that no one enters or exits the city. And the Vision drones detect the tentacle monster that's nearby them before they do, and they have Daredevil? That doesn't make sense. Daredevil's looking for this one old lady. What are the odds that that old lady is randomly wandering around alleyways in a wrecked city? Why an alleyway? Why go there? I don't understand. If I was an old lady and I got turned into a big ass tentacle monster, why would I just run around in streets? What do I have to do? The city's been wrecked. Maybe I could be trying to evacuate. I can see that. But why am I going down alleyways? Alleyways don't lead to not the city. So I don't understand. But what a coincidence that the old lady Daredevil is looking for happens to attack them in an alleyway. So, Doombot convinces the old lady to leave with Medusa from the Inhumans. Because Medusa shows up and she's like, I'm just traveling the city looking for the newly spawned Inhumans so that I can take them to be with their own kind and they can learn how to control their powers. And Daredevil is like, hey, that'd be a good idea for you, Doris. Like, I know you're an old lady that got turned into a squid monster, but there's like a silver lining to this. And the squid monster's like, none of you understand me. None of you know the struggle. And then Doombot's like, I know this struggle. Do you mind if I have this dance? And he dances with her. And he talks about how, like, he's had his own struggles and stuff like that. I talked about that in the prose section. But he also essentially tells her to become a supervillain. He talks about how, like, the terror you feel now, make the world feel that terror. And it's like, what? And, like, his pitch for her to become a supervillain is what convinces her to leave. And no one bats an eye. Daredevil, after the fact, goes, hey, I heard everything you said to Doris. I have super hearing, fam. But even though you told her to be a supervillain, I mean, you gave her hope. There's hope for you yet, Doombot. I can see the good in you. And I was like, what the fuck? No one before Doris left goes, don't be a bad guy. You know, I know that your, like, death grip was enough to hold Daredevil and a Doombot and Ant-Man until he shrunk. Like, I know you're extremely powerful now for an old person, and you've shown that you can take on multiple heroes at once, but, you know, like, she's a legitimate threat, as she has been, like, shown so far. So don't let Doctor Doom just tell her that she should be a supervillain, and then her go okay, like she, like, accepts that, and then, and then just let her leave. Someone should have said something, shit. That's just irresponsible. So, my next thing, this is my last con, is that the art makes Medusa's, like, lower half look oddly big in a weird way. And I didn't vibe with that. So, I've seen Medusa be, in, like, other Marvel comics. And she normally has, like, a relatively, like, flattering figure, or whatever. But the underwear outside the pants in this particular book makes it where it's like a weird lump. Like, you know how, like, if you're fat, your stomach may lump out? Like, you may be like, well, I can't really make a big enough lump. But, like, you know how if you're fat, your stomach may lump out? For Medusa's art, they did that to her crotch. They gave her, like, a weird fat bump. And I don't understand that. It may be the perspective, it may be the shading, but it's just this weird curve thing that just makes her look bigger than I've ever seen her. And I mean, I'm not saying that it's bad to have characters that look bigger, but I feel like that's unintentional. Like, I don't think, like, the artist meant to do that, but it looks kind of bad. Like, I feel like if he showed this to someone earlier, which he must have as a book, you know, there's an editor, there's someone who, like, reviews things like this. I'm surprised no one went, Medusa's looking kind of fat. Like, I don't know. You know, it's just, it's weird. In my opinion. That took me off guard. And I made that the thumbnail for this one. It's just a weird fat Medusa picture. But that was my last con and my con list. So I've gone over all the pros and all the cons. So my final note for this issue. I know that I just presented a significantly large number of cons and like one pro. But this series overall has been good. This issue in particular was more or less a waste of time. This is, in my opinion, a very skippable issue. You don't need to read this one. I don't feel like it has any heavy impact on the overall plot of Avengers A.I. And I feel like if you read it, you could go Avengers A.I. 1 through 6 and then skip 7. You just don't need to read 7. 7 doesn't seem that good. But at least that's my opinion. What was yours? Definitely feel free to share your thoughts, comments, concerns, and discussion points in the comment section below. And if you like this video, make sure to like this video. Favorite, comment, subscribe, and ding ding ding, ring that notification bell to be notified whenever we do these live streams. This is your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black the one and only. Logging out. Don't forget to smash that like button. And again, if you do, for whatever reason, want to read this issue, I'll be posting it in the description box below. Peace.